everyone, and welcome to Surviving UX, the place for you to fantasize about escaping the design career you've built so you can run away and become a waitress. I'm your host, Jessamyn Edwards. Meg is celebrating Mother's Day today. Happy Mother's Day to all the UX moms and dads out there. But we do have a really special guest to join us today. He's wrapping up a 2.5-year stint as a UX designer at AWS. He's also worked on Amazon Keyspaces and AWS Glue, and at startups like Shield X, IOLAP, and larger companies like Amdocs and HP. He's also worked for the Israeli Intelligence Corps as a designer and analyst. He has a master's in cognitive psychology from Tel Aviv University and is a dad to 3 amazing boys with a 4th child on the way. Spoiler, it's a girl. Welcome, Dvir Adler.
Thanks, Jessamyn.
Yeah, it's good to have you, Dvir. Thank you for joining us. So Dvir, you and I have worked together for a couple of years now, and you recently shared with me that you were going to be moving on from AWS, which was an extremely sad moment for me, but I'm really happy for you. Tell me about what your next moves are going to be.
You're not the only one sad here. I'm also sad leaving AWS. It's been quite a ride. Then an opportunity came knocking from Google cloud platform. So when they say come along, you don't say no.
Yeah.
I guess at least at my
Yeah, a seat on the rocket ship has come your way. So that's really exciting. I have a lot of people have left AWS for Google, and I always wondered, they must just look at our roster on LinkedIn and just take that and recruit off of it. I mean, because we're, it's really similar territory. But anyway, you have all this expertise now on the cloud. So, you've got a lot of value on the market. It's a hot job market right now.
It's very hot. I wasn't looking particularly recently, but that's what I hear. And
Yes.
I didn't let that opportunity go by. So
Yeah, good
I
for
guess
you.
thank you.
Oh, so excited for you, but also super sad. So Dvir, you and I have scheduled and rescheduled our podcast interview now. I think this is our 3rd or 4th attempt. We finally did it and actually got our calendars to align. You had to get permission from your wife to come and be on the podcast. So as someone who myself is also totally dependent on my spouse to keep my household running, how much of your success would you attribute to your spouse's support?
That's great. And I think we could ask her a similar first question. I think her career is even more impressive than mine. And so we could ask her, what would she attribute her success to my own? And it's funny because our marriage is quite fresh. And so part of her career we built ourselves, part of it we grew, like this last transition I'm making to Google with her support. And a behind the scene moment there was that when I really didn't know if I'm really going to even try and spend, the on-site and all the arduous meetings and all that with Google. And I'll give you another spoiler. It took about half a year or more before the offer was signed. So I I got a lot of support from her as a best friend. So
I think that's a good point, because that's like you said, even just to try, because it takes a lot of guts, I think, just to even try to get in the job market and interview. Honestly, I think that's what keeps a lot of people in their jobs, is the idea of interviewing. Sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
And it is exhausting because, as a lot of people, our listeners, I'm sure know, they can, companies can spend as much time on you as they want. And there's no, there's always that carrot sort of dangling. And it's not until you really get to the end that you even know the terms, I think. I mean, what your offer is going to be, what the salary is going to be. I mean, maybe some people ask for that stuff up front, but I don't know. I feel like that's always something that I personally don't bring up at the beginning of an interview process. I would feel kind of awkward doing that. I'd sort of wait and see, but then that means that they can just leave you hanging. So you don't even know until maybe it's a couple months later, like if this is even going to pay more than what you have now.
Yeah. You remind me, back in the day, I studied about decision making, the psychology behind decision making. And when I'm looking at myself, having to make the decision even to go and interview with another company. So there's the investment I need to make of time and effort and energy and willpower, to go through all that, stripping yourself professionally apart, and lying bare there and having to put up a show, and that there's part. But also I was thinking, there's the part, if I do get the offer, do I make the jump? It's
Yeah.
also a risk, right? I have the known. It's almost always not ideal, but
Mhm.
there's the other opportunity, which is an unknown. You're taking a risk of the unknown. So even
Exactly.
it, even a good decision or seemingly easy decision to go to Google wasn't that easy, because I'm having the time of my life here with under my most amazing manager ever, Denis. I'm gonna name drop here,
Yeah,
Denis
Denis.
Vacher. Yeah, having to give up that well-known role that I'm loving and enjoying, and an amazing team, having to give that up for
Yeah.
something that might be better, but you don't know that. No one
You
assures
don't
that.
know. You don't know.
That wasn't, yeah, that wasn't an easy decision. So there's a lot of risk involved.
I also feel like a lot of times when you're interviewing, you're not necessarily talking to the people you're going to interact with every day. You're talking to recruiters who are really friendly. I mean, some recruiters are so friendly. I'm just like, gosh, I almost feel like I'm on a date, like this person is just so
Sometimes,
friendly.
yeah,
And
yeah.
this person's not going to be the one I'm working with. So I feel like sometimes talking to a recruiter, it's almost like a bait and switch. Like, are you
That's
really
their
going to
job.
be, you're right, are you really going to be the personality, or am I going to be working with a bunch of duds? And a lot of times too, I think like there was a reason there's a vacancy on this team. Somebody left and
Yeah.
I'm a backfill, potentially. I mean, maybe they tell you that, maybe they don't. I mean, maybe the team's growing, but you don't know. And
I'll offer you,
yeah.
I'll offer to you two stories. One is that I remember interviewing at this for some other role at some point in time, and there was a good, not the most best chemistry between me and the hiring manager. I was able to go to talk to the hiring manager, and he was, yeah, come for a mini on-site kind of, and do a portfolio presentation for the team.
Okay.
So he bundled together his team, right? The people that probably I'll work shoulder to shoulder with, and I was going through my presentation, and that was one of the worst presentations I gave. I have no idea why. It was just the same rehearsed presentation that I always give,
Yeah.
and I didn't get anything. It was like a dud. It fell
Mm.
silent. Very
Mm-hmm.
little feedback. The questions were very shallow. The chemistry was off. Something was off, and I'm glad he brought the team over there, because that was, I guess,
Yeah.
preempting the fact that I didn't pass that to the second, round. So I think it was a good example of
Probably
how
a
bringing,
blessing in disguise, honestly.
exactly, bring your colleagues, your future colleagues into that group is probably a good thing, exactly to address what you were saying, how that you're not necessarily talking to people you're working with. That's exactly the reason that I asked to talk to the product manager in my new role.
Yeah.
And
You're
actually, I
like,
did that
who
with
am I really going to be wrangling with every
exactly,
day? Yeah.
exactly. And actually, I did that. I asked, and I was also asked by the hiring managers of several different roles to go have a one-on-one with the product manager as your
Hmm.
partner in crime for almost anything you would go about doing. And if
Yeah.
the chemistry there is not going, that's going to put a big damper on your success, right?
I feel
So
like product managers are not evaluated on personality. I mean, I feel like product managers, they have to have the business skills, right? They have to have the analytical skills. But there's so many product managers out there that have almost no personality whatsoever. And
mhm,
they're just like a robot, walking robot of requirements. And it's just like, God, can we have a conversation, please? And I feel like there's been so many duds, and I mean, definitely there's been good ones too, but I feel like there's something missing there where if you have a good rapport, UX designer and product manager, you feel like you can do anything. You feel like you can, come up with cool ideas and
exactly.
brainstorm and ideate and stuff like that. The worst is just like someone who's like here's a couple requirements, smell you later, see you in 3 weeks. Like, I hate that kind of collaboration. I feel like you've got to have somebody who has at least can call it like they see it. If something isn't going well, the worst is when
Yeah,
somebody isn't able to voice if something's wrong or something isn't going right, or they have a worry or a
yeah.
concern. That's the worst. I hate people who are like, oh, everything's fine, everything's good. I'm just like, kill me.
Chugging along.
I hate it. I hate
Yeah.
it. Um,
You
please.
know, you know what? I'm not sure what's worse, that or having an absent filled position
Oh,
of a product manager where, there is
ugh.
someone with that
It's like a
title, but you never get
shadow.
to talk to them. Yeah,
Yes.
he's a shadow,
They're
basically.
too they're too busy and important to have time to talk to you. I
Yes.
was on a team one time where the PM was on the project as a 20% time project. And I don't know who dreamed this up. And this guy was just never around, never available, never had time to talk or look at anything. And somehow, like, he was in charge. And I just thought, this is like a recipe for disaster. And I think it was just because they had him doing too many things. And so
Yeah.
it was just like when you have a whole, like, and there was a whole scrum team and me full time on the project, but then he was only allocated 20%. So that means like one day a week.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it
On
was
a good
ridiculous.
week.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, well, that was smart of you to interview them back. I've heard people
Thank
talk
you.
about that process, like, oh, it's not just a one way. It's like you want to know about them too. I think it probably comes with
Yeah.
some maturity in your career. You're like,
I think,
this could suck.
yeah. I think if anyone out there will go out and interview after they haven't in a while, I think they will feel it more because the market is in their favor.
Right.
Um, I think on average, you will see more interviewing back or more being spent and trying to lure you in.
Cross-examination. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So let's encourage everyone to take the opportunity, and when they leave you a courtesy of 5 minutes at the end to ask away, prepare questions, interrogate sometimes if
Yes.
needed.
It is
Ask to
really,
bring other people.
it's super frustrating when you do, like, I've been in interviews like this where you see the candidate talk and present and share, and then they do have questions back, or they stop at the end of their presentation and they're like, hey, any questions? I've been talking for 30-40 minutes, anybody have questions? And the room is silent. I feel like, oh my
Mm,
God, why are you even here? If you're clearly not paying attention, get out. Like, don't, it just drives me nuts. People should be clamoring to ask you questions after your portfolio review. Anything. I mean, literally anything. What was your favorite part of the project? Which part of the project sucked? Was there any challenge? Was there any, anything? But I've so many times I've seen people in interviews as a evaluator just sit there like a stone after somebody talks for 30-40 minutes about all these projects with nothing to say. It's totally maddening. And I've seen hiring managers do it too. They have nothing to say. They just sit there with their arms crossed. And I've seen it happen in person. That's the worst, where you're like,
wow,
somebody
that is
flew
wow.
here. They flew out to come
Oh
here and
man,
sit. And then the person's talking, talking, talking. They have nothing to say. They're just stone faced. It's the worst. Oh,
oh man.
have a
I could
conversation.
imagine how that that presenter feels
You
like.
you can tell the candidate's just like, it's like, oh. But anyway, so interviewing, so you survived the interview, very good.
Thank you.
And the location, are you going to have to relocate or are you going to stay put?
That's actually going to be an improvement because I'm going to have an office not far from where I live, and most of the design team is there, and the rest of the team is West Coast time zone, which
Okay.
is nice. So, and that is sheer coincidence, which ironic because I live in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
And moving out of Amazon, who knew there's other Google teams
Yeah.
around there? So,
I'm sure
yeah,
they
it's
they
been
come in
a
and
good
scoop up
coincidence.
all the apples falling off of the Microsoft and Amazon tree. So a
Right. The
question
apples
for
are
you.
rolling to San Diego, by the way, if you heard.
Downhill. Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
exactly.
So San Diego's a new hotspot for design.
It's a new hotspot for design. Specifically, Apple has opened some offices there. and Austin
Okay.
too. I hear about a lot of Apple and otherwise a lot of tech and talent rolling off to Austin. That's the
Okay. People
coolest
are
place.
probably just fleeing, the Bay Area,
Yes,
Seattle is expensive. And the weather. I
the
mean,
great
San
exodus.
Diego, forget it. The weather's so good.
I'd take Bay Area weather any day.
Yeah.
Living in Seattle and all.
Yeah. So question for you. You have worked as a designer in Israel, Texas, the Bay Area, and now Seattle. What
Hmm.
about those places has kind of influenced you or guided you or, molded you into the designer that you are today?
Yeah, definitely. And it's never occurred to me what was those influences. I guess in in Israel it was still mostly in person work, right? So
Yeah.
I had people in front of me, and there was this, back in the day when we had this crazy old kind of going with wild ideas in the middle of the room and whiteboarding spontaneously without scheduling anything. Remember those good old days? Um, and then I was relocated to Dallas, Texas with the company I was at, MDocs, and
Mm-hmm.
there weren't many designers out there. I tried going to meetups here and there. There were a few. They were all corporate. Most of them were corporate. A few small studios. Um, it didn't feel major. And back there, the setup was that most of the brains, like the PMs, the management, the leadership, most of it was in Israel, in HQ, and most
Mm-hmm.
of the workforce was in India.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an office, I had a desk. I would come into it, and I would sit entire days in it and be in virtual rooms.
Yeah.
So for my time there, it felt like almost a preempting or premonition of the pandemic times.
Yeah.
Full working fully or half remote for so long. Um, Dallas didn't. This place wasn't nourishing my soul.
Right.
Uh, uh, Essentially, right?
Yeah.
Professionally and also spiritually. So at some point, I got up and I was so fortunate to have an opportunity open up in San Jose in California,
Mm-hmm.
where I landed, and immediately I started. I came fresh. I was fresh off the boat, new in town. I hit up almost any meetup I saw.
Wow.
I met so many excited people, people eager to get going. I've met an entire slew, or like a cohort of young designers desperate to get into the UX space, but then
Wow.
hitting that famous chicken and egg problem because they don't have experience, cannot showcase, they don't have a
Yeah.
portfolio. I met those folks. I met with old folks. I met with people on the verge or after retirement age, still working on UX and accessibility. I've been to a meetup, to a lecture at the one of those labs of the old school HP
Okay.
or Stanford places. Um, the Bay Area, where I live, pre-pandemic, and also San Francisco, pre-pandemic. I don't know what's it's like right now, but those days it was such a deep high-tech culture. It
Yes.
was so profound. It was all over. It had a history. It had a future. It was teeming with life. I really loved it there,
That's cool.
professionally. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, professionally, and you had so much mobility. You could you could change jobs and just cross the street to another office, right? Um,
Do you feel
there
like
was so many
being
opportunity.
at home, the past couple years as we're all working remote, and now you're going to sort of transition back to the office. I mean, has that changed you? Do you have a preference about working from home or being in an office? Has there been any impact, would you say, on your career or your attitude about work since you've been working at home?
I think it feels like I grew into it since my days in Dallas and MDoc. So I molded myself into it. And since I tend to be lazy and, or as we like to sugarcoat it, efficient, right? I like to be efficient as I can, right?
Yeah,
And I have a personal hatred or vendetta against commuting.
commuting. God.
Yeah. So with that, I feel very comfortable working from home, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't mind spending the rest of my career working from home.
Yeah.
Um, And it's ironic now that you make me think about it, that in the Bay Area, that started the cloud and remote computing. That is the place that has reinvented the workplace.
Yeah.
It invented the technology that allowed itself to reinvent the workplace, where all the talent is now going remote and dispersing and going away to all those other cool, cheaper places.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a
I
shooting
think
itself
it's
in the foot.
awesome. I mean, I will say this. I absolutely love being in the office, being around people, being social. I get a lot out of talking with people and watching them work and watching them try things and talk, But that being said, I think also there's something to be said about having people who work in tech really spread out through the whole country. So people who, like me, are sort of returning back to where they're from or where their families are. I mean, when we left Mountain View a couple of years ago, like our next door neighbor was moving back to Ohio, where he was from.
Right.
And,
Right.
and I think it's a good reality check to get out of these sort of highly concentrated, super techie areas and get back and look at the rest of the country and interact with people who aren't in tech and sort of realize that, like, these are the people using your services. These are,
Yeah.
they work at
Yeah.
companies that keep the country running, and they are the end users, and, they don't have time for your nonsense. And I think it's very refreshing also just to be around people who in general kind of aren't in tech and
Yeah.
could really care less about your, whatever, your roadmap or what, whatever it is. I think I feel
Exactly.
like I like it. But that being said, I definitely miss the in-person side of things. If there were a way to have it all where I could live close to my parents, be in a cheaper place, not super techy, and then also be able to like drive to work and work in the office a couple days a week, I would totally do it.
Yeah.
I would totally do
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah. That's the holy grail.
you can't have your cake
I'm
and eat
happy
it
at
too.
least. Not right now, but I'm
Mm-mm.
happy, like as you were saying, that the Bay Area, the Silicon Valley, and San Francisco invented a letter out to let its talent down from the ivory tower, right,
Uh-huh.
and back to its roots, and go back to the communities, and that not only goes to other places in the U.S., it goes to the entire world. We're seeing more talent, even in where we work or we will work. We see more talent being hired from
Mm-hmm.
nearshore, offshore, all over. So
Yeah.
collaboration is
Yeah.
increasing, and you're right. We're giving up that interpersonal, in-person meetings, that spontaneity, that creativity. But we'll find ways. I'm
Yeah.
optimistic. We'll find ways. I don't want to go all meta and metaverse on you, but probably that will come someday, before
Yeah.
we retire, right?
Yeah. That's
Um,
true.
so it's coming. We'll have to brace for it, and the early we adopt it, I think it's better. But
Yeah. I can't wait to be a hologram.
exactly, the the future, it's coming, and we are heading towards that holy grail where you can eat the cake and have it.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bit of patience, I guess.
So, Dvir, tell me, we have a few minutes left. What is something you regret about this last year, or maybe this last job, that you won't take into your new job and the new, I won't say year because we're sort of halfway through the year, but what's something you learned in the past couple years, in this role that you have, that you're like, I'm not going to do that again in this new job. I'm going to, kick that bad habit, or not try to avoid that mistake.
I'll only be sorry that I wasn't taking advantage enough of that freedom we had, where no one cared what office you were going into, because we were all locked down, or not locked down, but kind of the offices were still closed. And then me and my wife, we had the opportunity to go and do a work-cation,
Mm-hmm.
or a working from destination. So you could hire a place and go
Yeah.
out for a week and work during the day, and in the night or afternoon go about and enjoy the destination, and weekends enjoy the destination. That is an opportunity that we didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
And now that the offices are closed, then So now that the office is reopened, we probably won't have that much opportunity of doing that as
Yeah,
often as we did. So I'm only sorry we didn't do that even more.
just try to travel and take advantage of being remote.
Yeah, I don't know what's the good word for workation, or working from a destination.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense. I know what you mean. I mean, we're
yeah,
doing that this summer. We did it last summer, and I really enjoyed it. And my husband's like, because we went down to Florida for about I think 4 to 6 weeks, and my husband was like, wouldn't it be nice if you had more time off? And I'm like, I agree. It would be nice to have more time off. And also, I'm just glad to have a change of scenery, just in general. Just
exactly,
get out of the same room that I'm in every day and just be in
exactly.
a different room.
Exactly. So it's not over totally yet, but yeah, we
Yeah.
will keep looking for those opportunities.
I bet
Mhm.
employers, like, especially in the summer or like over winter time and the holidays, more people will expect that flexibility. People
Mm,
I know people who are like, hey, over the summer, I'm going to be working from India. I'm going to be working from
nice.
Europe for a couple of weeks or a month.
Yep.
And they're just, and it's like, you know what? I think it's more accepted now. I used to have pre-pandemic,
Yeah.
I had one or two people on my team I can think of that had foreign spouses, and the spouse
Right.
always wanted to go back to their native country. So they would go
Hmm.
and work from France or whatever
Yeah.
for a month. And it was okay. People, I guess it was somewhat tolerated, but it wasn't the norm. But I
Right.
bet it's going to be, I bet if you said, hey, we're going to be for 2 weeks, I'm going to work remote because we're going to be going down to Teos, New Mexico, or whatever it is, I
Hmm.
bet nobody would bat an eye. I bet you could get away with it.
That's true. That's true. So, um, yeah, definitely. And we'll, myself, my family, and many other expat families will try to take advantage of that. There are some policies in place. Some employers don't like that. So people won't abuse it. They say you can go up to 30 days a year. There's also tax codes that prevent you from doing that. Last time I checked.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's not total freedom yet, but it's coming, and we still might have that opportunity. So it's not shut down entirely, but we'll take advantage of it
If
as
you
much as we
can't take
can.
a vacation, it's the next best thing. And when you don't have unlimited time
Exactly.
off, or you can't take as much time off as you wish, honestly, it's the next best thing. Because like you said, you can at night, you can get out. The scenery is different, the stores are different, the restaurants are different. And
Exactly.
it's just so, I think it's so good. It's like a sabbatical, but you don't have to wait, years. So just have a few minutes left. So we can either do a listener question or we can do some rapid fire questions. Which would you prefer?
Let's try to answer a listener's question.
Okay, listener question. The job market is so hot right now, but I'm really happy at my job. Should I just look at new jobs for the hell of it or stick to what I already know and love? What do you think, Dvir?
That's a tough one. There's always the lure of what's better out there, and I think a lot has to do with one's personality. And I'd I'd turn the question back to the listener and ask, what is it that you're really after? What is
Mm,
it that you're optimizing for, that you really want to have? If you're wanting something more, then yes, now is a great time. But if all you do is if all you do is just to have fun and some nice income and be done with it, and you want to focus on other things, family, hobbies, travel, whatever,
hmm.
then I'll encourage you to stick to where you are. So
Yeah.
I think it comes down to the worst answer we have in the UX field, the universal answer, which is it depends,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
I truly hate that answer, but I do think it's fair, like you said, if your life's focus is like your work is work is a means to live, and life is more important, family, friends, hobbies, travel, and this is just a job to support all that, then I think I agree with you. Keep it going, keep it steady. You can always, there's always, I feel like the longer you're in a job, sometimes the more freedom you actually can have because you learn the
Right.
rules and you learn what
Exactly.
you can get away with and what you can't get away with. And so then you can sort of iterate on that space and those limits. Whereas when you start in a new job, I think a lot of times I've spent running into brick walls and feeling like, oh, I got
Yeah,
away with this at the last place I worked and now it's not allowed here. Crap,
yeah,
now what? And then you have to figure out those new rules and where those new brick walls are. And so I do
yeah,
feel like there is some freedom that comes with, um, tenure at a place, even if it doesn't mean that you're, moving up, you can move sort of out. You can move around a little bit more freely because you've got the credibility, you've got the relationships, and you can,
yeah.
experiment a little bit with your role. And people are like, oh yeah, they know what they're doing because they've been doing it for 3 or 4 years or whatever. um I feel like there's just a little bit more allure, but I do agree with you. Like if you have a goal in mind and you're not getting to that goal in your current job, it makes sense to put in the effort to move. But I think that like sometimes, especially like recruiters, make it sound like switching is really easy, but switching jobs is not really easy. There's a lot of work that comes with it. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah. It's as we were saying earlier, it's not an easy decision because you have so much to gain and so much to lose on both sides. I will say that from my humble perspective, which I'm not an expert, I just talked to a few folks and I've seen my own career. And if you're ambitious and you want to go far and you want to go high, the market the market is built in a way that actually incentivizes people to move
Yeah.
frequently. So if that's your goal, if that's your aim, then I encourage you to look around, even internally transferring,
Mm-hmm.
but changing roles and jobs and employers every so often probably will get you higher and further. But
True.
if you want to get your expertise, if you want to feel comfortable, if you want to, as you were saying, move your career into spots and areas that wouldn't be normally allowed, grow into some creative stuff or some niches, or maybe your thing is actually instructing, training, or managing or whatever, then there's definitely gains to be taken from staying and building yourself in one place.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, so listeners, you heard it here. Figure out what you want, and then good luck to you if you do decide to take the leap. So with
It's a
that,
great time to
Dvir,
take a leap.
yes, it is a good time. So with that, guys, we're gonna say goodbye and thank you, Dvir, for being our co-host this episode, and best of luck to you as you start your new journey at Googs.
Thank you, Jessamyn. So happy that we finally made it, and all the best to all our listeners out there.
Surviving UX is hosted and edited by Jessamyn Edwards and Meg Kramer. Our theme music is, among other things, the on-hold music for Cisco Phones, Opus Number 1 by Tim Carlton and Derek Deal. Thanks to Dvir Adler for joining us today, and thank you for listening. Hang in there until next time. Bye-bye.